Andrea Locatelli, not a good exit from turn 15 for Locatelli. Will Razgatlıoğlu be able to get alongside into the final two turns? The answer on lap 4 at least is no. Razgatlıoğlu then might carry the momentum onto the start-finish straight. The start of lap 5, Bautista already making his way towards the line now, and the others will cross some 1.4 seconds behind. Locatelli, Razgatlıoğlu, Ray, Rinaldi 6/10 back now, so he's starting to drop off on lap 5 now, and still no way through for Razgatlıoğlu. 10ths back from those podium places, Locatelli and Razgatlıoğlu, so if and when he gets clear of Jonathan Ray, we know or we suspect that he can get straight back down into those 1-minute 50s and start to think about closing down Locatelli and Razgatlıoğlu, particularly in the second half of the race. But he's that much closer to the front this time around than even he was at this stage of race 1 yesterday afternoon. So Rinaldi in really good shape here to at least consider second place, I would suggest.
Second is the target, and right now if you were putting your money down, you probably think he's the guy that's going to have that chance to do it.
Race 2 of the 2023 Tissot Aragon round gets underway. Really fast start from Andrea Locatelli from the second row. Alvaro Bautista it is who hits the front. Jonathan Ray, I think, settling in for second place. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu passed by Andrea Locatelli around the first two turns. So it's Bautista leading, Ray in second, Locatelli third, Razgatlıoğlu relegated to fourth position. Ray attacks on Bautista, charges down the inside into turn 4, takes his line away, takes track position away and takes the lead. And Bautista now under pressure from Locatelli behind. Bautista has not managed to get the pace early on. Locatelli with a massive slide. He's actually impeded Alvaro Bautista quite dramatically there, but Toprak Razgatlıoğlu was directly behind Bautista, couldn't get through and is now under attack from Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Dramatic opening lap here in MotorLand Aragón.
Yeah, super stuff from Locatelli and able to keep it pinned and keep that momentum to stay in front of Bautista. Great opening lap in the second row with the grid from him. Jonathan Ray, as we've seen so many times this season, when the grip's there, he's still strong in that Kawasaki. It's as it fades, that's when his problems arise.
Axel Bassani charging through on this opening lap. We saw him thunder down the inside through turns 8 and 9 to pick off the Honda of Iker Lecuona. He is now trying to close down the man directly in front of him, Xavi Vierke. Where is Michael van der Mark? He's dropped a couple of places back to P9. So van der Mark had actually made a good initial jump from 14th on the grid. Still inside the top 10 positions as we come onto the back straight for the first time. Lap 1, this is where Bautista can unleash his potential, try and close down Andrea Locatelli, who's been the big mover or inside those front two rows of the grid thus far.
Yeah, from the second row of the grid, Locatelli did a really good job in the first half of the lap. When an opportunity presented itself, he came through, and that's what you need to do if you're that number 2 for a team. But Locatelli, he views that he's got a chance in this one.
Jonathan Ray leads, but it's all about Alvaro Bautista at the start of lap 2, making his move down the inside of Andrea Locatelli, and Locatelli will try and put the block pass on Jonathan Ray, and Bautista was primed for the cutback to pick up the pieces, but it is Locatelli who leads. Delight for Andrea Dossoli as his man, his fellow countryman, leads away. Andrea Locatelli, surprise lap 2 leader here. Alvaro Bautista will attack as they come through turn 4. Bautista recovers the place, and it's Ray and Razgatlıoğlu, the men that you would have fancied most likely to take on Bautista here, who have actually got Andrea Locatelli to clear before they can chase down Bautista for the race lead.
Yeah, Locatelli, he's done a really good job to hit the front. Now he needs to make sure he can come through on Bautista, because otherwise for Ray and for Razgatlıoğlu, they're going to lose too much time to Alvaro.
A second only covers your top 6. Bautista, Locatelli, Ray, Razgatlıoğlu, Rinaldi and Vierke. Xavi Vierke doing really well to hang on in there, and Axel Bassani starting to close them down as well from 7th place.
Just off the grid, we saw that Vierke made a good start. Lecuona a little bit suspect off the line, and that's what allowed his Honda teammate to come through.
Bautista versus Locatelli, but the more the race goes on, the more Bautista finds his rhythm, and now that the number 1 Ducati has got track position at the head of the field, it will be on to the exit of turn 15, and an opportunity for the first time in this race for Bautista to really steal a march. And in fact already, as they make their way through towards that final sector, Bautista with a bit of breathing room ahead of Andrea Locatelli, and it's Locatelli's teammate Razgatlıoğlu starting to attack Jonathan Ray, nose to tail as they come down the back straight. 968 metres for Razgatlıoğlu to get on terms with Jonathan Ray, right on board with Ray. Razgatlıoğlu deep on the brakes as ever. this time into turn 16 with some confidence, and that will be a sign of some inspiration for Razgatlıoğlu, the way he made that pass in fine style on Jonathan Rea.
Yeah, and for Razgatlıoğlu, it's all about what he can do now against his teammate Locatelli. You know that he's been faster than Locatelli all the way through this weekend, but this is a track that suits Locatelli's style a lot more than it suits Toprak's. So for Locatelli, this is a real opportunity from that. He's gone away at the front of the field right from the get-go.
Bassani through on Vierke for P6 in towards turn 1, so Bassani as ever taking no prisoners in the early laps here.
Best we've seen from Axel all the way through this weekend. How many times have we seen it though where Ducati just find their feet as the weekend goes on for some of those independent riders? A little bit more data, a little bit more information, and on Sunday for race 2 they always tend to make a step, and certainly for Bassani that's been the case once again here.
I think of the Italian round in particular, where Bassani had fairly anonymous races with 7th and 6th positions, but then was a genuine contender for the race victory in race 2 in Imola. A bit early to start calling who the favourites are here, other than Alvaro Bautista. 1 minute 50.5 last time around, 1 minute 50.9 for Andrea Locatelli. That's why a gap of almost half a second has now opened up on lap 3. Razgatlıoğlu versus Locatelli should be your next fight for second place.
It's this lap that we're really going to get to see what the pace can be, because at 50.5 it's not really pushing on at this stage of the race compared to what we had yesterday, about a half a second slower. So for Alvaro Bautista, let's see what his lap time is now. This is where it becomes critical for Toprak and for Rea to clear Locatelli, but already they're going to be thinking it's going to be very difficult to close down that margin to Bautista.
And with such a margin, with such control and with such speed, is there an extent to which Bautista needs to manage himself here to avoid the errors of 24 hours ago? Remember, a race 1 fall that's thrown this championship back open. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu now trying to pass teammate Andrea Locatelli. Earlier on in the season, when he's had to make those moves, he's said that he's really had it in the forefront of his mind that it's his teammate he's overtaking. But seeing his championship rival Bautista get up the road, I think Razgatlıoğlu might have to put some manners here on Andrea Locatelli. He's going to try and outbrake him in towards turn 1, but Locatelli holds firm for second place.
Once again, you get to see that illustration. Toprak doesn't have the confidence on the front end in this track at this weekend. He's not able to make that move on Locatelli. We saw it into turn 16, we saw it into turn 1. This is going to be a struggle for Toprak through the course of this race.
Razgatlıoğlu did get through well on Jonathan Rea, but his progress has been halted in 3rd behind Andrea Locatelli. So it's Bautista who leads by a second now, ahead of Locatelli in 2nd, Razgatlıoğlu 3rd. Jonathan Rea in 4th position. Rinaldi still in touch, 3/10 back from Rea. Bassani 4/10 back from Rinaldi. Razgatlıoğlu getting the bike up earlier than Andrea Locatelli. Not quite alongside to think about making a pass through here. It's single file in towards turn 8, unless you're Axel Bassani, of course. He's in 6th position and 4/10 of a second behind Rinaldi as things stand.
Yeah, you can see there 50.2 last time around from Bautista, so that's why he's been able to open that margin. If you're able to keep it in the low to mid 50s for as long as possible, you're going to be very difficult to beat around here, and that's why he just opens up that margin. 1.1 seconds now over Locatelli. You can see for Toprak up there at turn 7, he knew he had to try and give himself a chance to come through. Locatelli, he's the bottle in the cork in the bottle right now, so Toprak, he has to attack into 15.
For Bautista, it is a question of keeping it on the island, of completing this race, of banking those 25 points. For Toprak Razgatlıoğlu, it's damage limitation. He'll want to get through on his team partner Andrea Locatelli. Not a good exit from turn 15 for Locatelli. Will Razgatlıoğlu be able to get alongside into the final 2 turns? The answer, on lap 4 at least, is no. Razgatlıoğlu then might carry the momentum onto the start-finish straight. The start of lap 5. Bautista already making his way towards the line now, and the others will cross some 1.4 seconds behind. Locatelli, Razgatlıoğlu, Rea, Rinaldi 6/10 back now, so he's starting to drop off on lap 5 now, and still no way through for Razgatlıoğlu for seconds.
Yeah, Toprak on the exit of turn 15 looked like he was able to carry the momentum. We saw Locatelli carry a little bit of a wheelie, but not able to do anything with it. So for Toprak, he's up against his teammate who's riding well at this stage of the race and has that good pace and potential. So for Toprak, nothing's going to be easy.
Well, the reality as well is it's not worth dusting up your teammate, really, when Alvaro Bautista is away and clear at the head of the field anyway. The only way that Bautista surely is going to be beaten from here is if he has a problem or makes a mistake.
Yeah, it's not worth dusting up your teammate when you want to have him between you and Jonathan Rea as well.
Yes, Jonathan Rea is right back onto Razgatlıoğlu's tail. There's never been much more than 2 or 3 tenths of a second between them, but now there is just 1 tenth between them. And Rea might think, do you know what, if Andrea Locatelli is slower than the pair of us, might be an opportunity for Mr. Rea himself to clamber his way back up onto the podium. For now, he's outside of those podium positions. Obviously, the difference compared to race 1 is that Michael Ruben Rinaldi is behind him at this stage, and Andrea Locatelli finds himself in front there in second position. Not least, of course, Bautista crashed out of race 1, enabling Rea to move up into those podium positions. But it's Locatelli, Razgatlıoğlu and Rea here with only 3 tenths between them.
Yeah, Rinaldi's still the danger man, though, because we saw yesterday just how good he was at managing that tyre all the way through. He's not got himself onto that rear wheel of Jonathan Rea just yet, but you'd imagine if in 4 or 5 laps time he's still that same distance behind. That's whenever he'd start to get worried that he's not giving himself the chance to be able to attack.
A little bit of lift for Toprak Razgatlıoğlu this time as he made his way onto the back straight, but Locatelli holding firm, and it is Andrea Locatelli who still leads the way in that second position. Bautista up and clear at the head of the field. So it's now a race for second place. Locatelli, Razgatlıoğlu, Rea, Rinaldi are your contenders. Bassani realistically just got to try and dig in and hold on to 6th place. We do tend to see he's a master of the first 5 laps of these feature-length races, but later on his pace starts to drop off. At the moment he's running the same kind of pace as the likes of Vierke, Lecuona and Van der Mark behind him. So the top 5 splintering clear. Jonathan Rea meanwhile has dropped back from Locatelli and Razgatlıoğlu at the start of lap 6.
Yeah, it's quite similar to yesterday in terms of how the pace is progressing for these riders. What's interesting is Petrucci from the back of the field matching the pace of 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th position, but he's just out of position on track, so he's got too much ground to make up. He's got about 5 seconds behind these riders, so coming through from the back of the field, the top 5, top 6 probably the realistic target for him once again. Yeah,
the challenge is to try and be top independent, to try and beat Bassani and peg back some points. Thinking about that battle in 5th and 6th positions at the moment, Petrucci is at 7th and 6 points behind Michael Ruben Rinaldi, and set to lose more with Rinaldi sitting in P5, but 1.3 now the gap between 5th and 6th places, so Petrucci might well target the likes of Bassani, 3.5 seconds up the road from him in P6, but much more than that would be a bit of a stretch. So similar to what we saw for him yesterday in race 1, but the frustration for him all goes back to that one crucial error in the Superpole session yesterday.
Yeah, big mistake, and it's ended up handicapping his whole weekend, and it is this situation always in Superbikes. If you struggle in the Superpole session, you put yourself out of position on the grid, it's very difficult to make up that margin, because especially early in the race, everyone's quite strong, everyone's quite fast, and everyone's very committed on the running towards turn 1. One of the things Florian Marino said yesterday after his return to World SBK, tough to get yourself aggressive enough to really go for things in those opening few laps, but that's when you need to if you've qualified down the order.
Locatelli versus Razgatlıoğlu, Rea versus Rinaldi, 2 completely separate fights have now formed, and it's looking increasingly unlikely that Jonathan Rea will extend his podium run that stretches back to Imola. Rea sitting in 4th still, but with Rinaldi all over his tail.
Yeah, he doesn't have it underneath him right now. This is when the bike started to struggle yesterday as well. Rinaldi, you'd imagine, will come through pretty soon, and for Michael Ruben Rinaldi on the 21 that we look back towards, he's certainly got his chances of picking up a 2nd place finish in this race.
Yeah, 7 times podium finisher in 2023 is Michael Ruben Rinaldi, who sits in 5th position as things stand. He's only 9 tenths back from those podium places, Locatelli and Razgatlıoğlu, so if and when he gets clear of Jonathan Rea, we know, or we suspect, that he can get straight back down into those 1-minute 50s and start to think about closing down Locatelli and Razgatlıoğlu, particularly in the second half of the race. But he's that much closer to the front this time around than even he was at this stage of race 1 yesterday afternoon. So Rinaldi in really good shape here to at least consider 2nd place, I would suggest.
2nd is the target, and right now if you were putting your money down, you probably think he's the guy that's going to have that chance to do it, but you never know how the race are going to progress. Locatelli's looking good and comfortable there in front of Toprak. He's weathered the storm, and now he's keeping himself in that position to hold off Toprak, but it is one thing to stay in front of Toprak, and it's another thing whenever Toprak does decide to attack.
5th place finish in Most in race 1, but obviously those were trying conditions, and Lecuona made best use of them. If you could get through on Bassani for a 5th place here, that would be really some achievement.
Yeah, and for Lecuona it really would be a case of being able to use this weekend to build on for the rest of the season. Portimao and Jerez for Honda, it gives them something as well to show the progress that they've made with the changes to the bike. They've said that this weekend is just about the track suiting the bike a bit better. Now they'll need to prove that when they go to Portimao if they're able to bring some momentum.
Race between the 2 top BMWs here. Michael van der Mark in 10th position and Garrett Gerloff in 11th. and going in opposite directions rather. Gerloff's been a few tenths of a second per lap faster. Just in the background of the shot, Dominic Egerter trying to get through here on Loris Baz. That's for 12th position. So Van der Mark and Baz rather fading. We've seen Redding already scrapping away with Lorenzo Baldassari. It is Redding who's won out in that duel and sits in 14th position now after the retirement of Andrea Locatelli. But for the top two BMWs, could be Gerloff again here in these final 2 laps.
Yeah, we'll see if Garrett's able to get himself in a position to attack in the last lap and a half. But either way, Van der Mark's ridden well all the way through this race and given himself a chance of a top 10 finish. But for Gerloff, the last few rounds we have seen it where he's been really strong in the BMW, and in the Super Pole race as well, he was the top BMW rider this morning, and he's given himself a chance of another decent top 10 finish on that bike. 2
13th position finishes this weekend so far for Michael van der Mark. The best of his results since his comeback have been at 13th places. So van der Mark riding well here in 10th position. Frustration for Andrea Locatelli, the second of our big name retirements. We lost Danilo Petrucci earlier on as well. But that's particularly heart-wrenching for Locatelli because you could see that he had the pace for a podium there. He was holding back his team partner, Toprak Razgatlıoğlu, and looked to have control, frankly. Every time Toprak had tried to make the pass, Locatelli had the answer.
Yeah, it had been an issue for a lap earlier. There was a little bit of smoke, maybe at turn 12. But for Toprak, maybe he saw something a little bit more often through the course of that race. So that was also a reason why you're a little bit circumspect. But for Locatelli, he rode perfectly. He rode a really good race, as good as we've seen from him all the way through his Superbike career, holding off Toprak lap after lap, not giving into the pressure. And then, unfortunately for him, technical issue means that he's got nothing to show for it.
Quick word on the resolution of that scrap, just flashing past our commentary position now in towards turn number 1. I can tell you that Garrett Gerloff is ahead of Michael van der Mark for 10th position. So Gerloff up into 10th place, van der Mark drops to 11th, and that looks like being the way things stay in the fringes of the top 10.
Yeah, Gerloff into the top 10. Also, Florio Marino's just jumped ahead of Baldassari into the points as well, so into the 15th position.
So some reward for his efforts substituting for Alex Lowe's this weekend. As we recover Alvaro Bautista, relentless pace in those first 8 laps just to break away from the field, and he's now managing his pace, riding in the low 1 minute 52s, as are the men directly behind him. No further change available. Rinaldi's now 2.5 seconds back from Razgatlıoğlu, so Bautista will only gain 5 points on his nearest championship rival this afternoon.
Yeah, and for Toprak, at least over the course of the weekend, he's been able to claw back points on Bautista, gives himself something that himself and Yamaha are going to be able to hang their hat on, that this weekend, such a tough weekend for them, they've been able to come away with 3 podiums. This didn't look likely on Friday, so Yamaha worked well all the way through this weekend to give themselves this opportunity.
Bautista 4 seconds up on Razgatlıoğlu, Rinaldi. They're all within a straight of one another, but that's about as close as anyone has been to Alvaro Bautista this afternoon. It's been a supreme performance from him. Great job on the last lap in the Super Pole race. Great job throughout in race 2 this afternoon. A 5th Sunday double of the 2023.